So I can still see there's a few people connecting, so we'll just give it another minute or so before we crack on. But welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is the SecureEnergy Supply Chain Opportunity Briefing dated August 2021. This briefing relates to subcontract opportunities on the EnergyConnect project. This is the third of 3 sessions that we've run over the last 2 days. We ran 2 yesterday and this one this morning. Each of the sessions is identical, so the slides that we go through and the information that we're presenting in each session has been exactly the same. The recordings for these sessions will be available early next week, and they'll be shared through a number of different avenues, which we'll talk about over the course of the presentations. EnergyConnect is a TransGrid project with a registered Australian industry participation plan, and this briefing is part of the SecureEnergy commitment to full, fair and reasonable representation. This session is being recorded, as I said, and along with the other 2 sessions will be available for you, and it'll also be on our new website, which went live last night, and later in the presentation you'll be able to see the address for the SecureEnergy joint venture website. The information will come out to you through a number of partners that we have working with us on the project, and a couple of whom we'll meet later on in the project in the presentation. You'll see that there is a Q&A section on the screen that you're looking at. If you have any questions as we go, please feel free to type them in that Q&A section. We have a moderator and some other people working to answer your questions. So we'll try and answer them as we go in the Q&A section, but we have left plenty of room at the end of the presentation for us to interact and respond to questions at the end of the session. I would like to note though, please, that this is a supplier information session for Australian, local and Indigenous suppliers. We will only be answering questions on industry participation. Questions relating to environment, approvals and border community and construction matters won't be responded to in these sessions. Matters relating to the human resources, jobs, etc. Will be provided by the human resources team, who will be presenting more information at a later date. There will also be job opportunities on the website. So if you're interested in that, please keep an eye on the website. Finally, if you've never subcontracted to a major project before, there'll be a lot of information in this session for you to take on board about how you would work with us. One point to take away above all else is our culture about safety. It is industrial practice to discuss and implement safety practices ahead of meetings. So with that in mind, I'd like to just let everybody know that it's the start of what might be a long day for some people. A 90-minute session with your headset on or staring at your computer screen can be a long time. Please make sure that you don't stand up still connected to your headset. Make sure that if you need a break, you stand up and stretch your legs. As I said, the sessions will be recorded, so please, if you need to have a stretch, make sure you do so. I'd now like to introduce Mr. Mark Cunningham, our Indigenous Participation Manager.
Thanks, Adrian. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Aboriginal land today. I would like to recognise the strengths and the resilience of the traditional owners. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and I recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship to the land, which continues to be important to Aboriginal people today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Indigenous engagement is part of our culture at SecureEnergy. It's something that underpins how we're going to deliver this project successfully. Our client has set us a contracted Indigenous target to make, so please make sure if you're a majority owned Indigenous business that you identify yourself during the registration processes, which we'll talk about during the presentation. So thank you everybody for joining us. My name is Adrian Whiting. I'm the local industry participation manager. I joined SecureEnergy about 3 weeks ago. Joining us on the call today also, as you just heard, is Mr. Mark Cunningham, our Indigenous Participation Manager. Running the Q&As for us is Carmen Marshall. She's our Engagement Manager. Also on the line, some of you may have interacted with Ben Hughes in the past. So Ben is our local industry advisor, and Ben's available at the end to answer questions if we need to. So as you can see down that side of the agenda, it'll basically be in 3 pieces. So slides 1 to 5, we'll just have a talk about what the project is, what this presentation is. We'll then hear from ICN, and we'll talk about them in a minute. And then we'll just, from section 7 to 11, we'll just run through how you pre-qualify, what sort of things do you need to consider about pre-qualification and working on a project like EnergyConnect and working with us, SecureEnergy. And then at the end, we've got plenty of time for questions. On the right-hand side of that slide, you can see some of the partners that we're working with to deliver the local industry and Indigenous participation plans for the project. So Regional Development Australia Murray, Regional Development Australia Riverina cover the area of the project space, as does Mildura Regional Development. So they're important partners with us to connect with local businesses. Also Business New South Wales, they connect us with the business chambers in the various communities that we're working through. ICN, you'll hear from Mr. Jeff Reardon from ICN. He's the New South Wales Riverina Murray Manager, and he will talk to us about how the ICN works and how you can register your business with ICN. So collaboration is key, and so those partners that we're collaborating with make this process possible. As we had originally planned, we would be doing this as a road trip. So originally we wanted to be out in your communities, meeting with you, actually being able to introduce ourselves and our team and partners that are helping us. So please take the opportunity to reach out to those partners that we're working with to be able to understand the project. We'd also like to thank the National Indigenous Australians Agency. We weren't able to use their logo on this slide. Regional Development Australia Riverina and Regional Development Australia Murray are 2 important parts of helping us deliver the Commonwealth requirements of our Australian Industry Participation Plan. I'd now like to invite Rachel Whiting, the Director of Regional Development Riverina, to give us an introduction.
Thank you, Adrian, for the introduction, and to Mark for your acknowledgement of country. Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Whiting, CEO and Director of Regional Development for Regional Development Australia Riverina, and I'm here today also representing Edwina Hayes from RDA Murray. RDAs are not-for-profit, non-government organisations who work to deliver economic development in 53 regions around Australia. We have voluntary boards with local people passionate about the region and chairs who are appointed by Minister Nola Marino. Minister Marino has set an energetic tone and focused RDAs on developing local procurement opportunities, jobs and investment. RDA Murray and Riverina have great track records bringing people together to facilitate community, business and industry development to bring more investment to the region from the Snowies to the South Australian border. We each have specific workforce and local procurement initiatives and would be pleased to discuss your needs and ideas to make the most of this project in our region. SecureEnergy is a nationally significant project with hundreds of millions of dollars being invested in infrastructure in our region, which will enable the growing use of renewable energy across Australia. We are committed to you to ensure our region benefits as much as possible from this investment. Please feel free to contact me on 0429 444 213 at Regional Development Australia Riverina or Edwina Hayes at Regional Development Australia Murray on 0427 267 753. You can also find us on social media with using our full names, Regional Development Australia, Riverina and Murray. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you for that welcome, Rachel. As we move on now into the presentation, we need to just show this slide. It's just about the fact that the presentation that we're giving is true and correct now. The information that we're giving you is correct as of August 2021. I think everyone's quite aware at the moment with COVID and other things that are going on that the business climate may change as a significant project. There are things that could impact the project going forward. So the information that we're providing you today is correct as of today. And as these videos are recorded, you can come back and have a look at this at a future date if you need to. So what is EnergyConnect? TransGrid, the electricity transmission operator in New South Wales, and Electronet, the electricity distributor for South Australia, are currently progressing planning approvals and associated activities for the construction and operation of a new electrical interconnector and network support options between New South Wales and South Australia. The interconnector is aimed at reducing the costs of providing secure and reliable electricity transmission between New South Wales and South Australia in the near term, while facilitating the longer-term transition of the energy sector across the national electricity market to low-emission energy sources. The current preferred option involves constructing a high-voltage electricity interconnector of approximately 700 kilometres between the power grids of South Australia, starting in Robertstown, and New South Wales, finishing in Wagga Wagga, known collectively as EnergyConnect. EnergyConnect has been identified as a priority transmission project in the New South Wales Transmission Infrastructure Strategy, linking the South Australian and New South Wales energy markets and assisting in transporting energy from the Southwest Energy Zone to major demand centres. So that's the EnergyConnect project. There's a map. So on the map, you can see that it's not just a hole in the ground. It's not a single location project where we will bring lots and lots of resources into one place where we'll get lots and lots of work done. It's a very lineal work front. We'll be working for this project. You need to consider the line there from the South Australian border, a small piece down into Victoria and all the way across to Wagga Wagga. Because of the nature of the approvals for the project, we will be starting at the western end. So the line will start over on the South Australian border, and then we'll work across from the west to Wagga Wagga. So you can see the region that defines our local, and that's why we need to have so many of those partners that we looked at earlier, so that we can cover all of the area that we need to cover to successfully deliver the project. So who is the SecureEnergy joint venture? So the SecureEnergy joint venture is a joint venture between Clough and Elecnor two global leaders with local knowledge in delivering engineering, procurement and construction projects for the power infrastructure industry. SecureEnergy, on behalf of TransGrid, will build EnergyConnect, a 700-kilometre overhead electricity transmission line and one of the nation's largest energy infrastructure projects. Elecnor is a global leader in high voltage transmission and substation EPC, with nearly 60 years of continuous growth and a presence in more than 50 countries. Elecnor's performance has become a benchmark in the infrastructure, renewable energy and technology sectors. Since 2014, Elecnor has proven a commitment to Australia, completing multiple projects across the country. Clough is an engineering and construction company founded in Australia in 1919. The company successfully delivers challenging, high-performing assets for the energy, infrastructure and resource industries, underpinned by a dedication to problem solving and getting the job done safely and efficiently. Providing EPC services, the Clough team delivers zero harm projects and has worked on some of the world's largest and most technically and logistically challenging projects. There at the bottom of the screen, you can see our new website. It went live last night. At the moment, you need to type in www.secureenergyjv.com.au, and over time, as more people look at it and we get the tools in place, it'll pop up in searches. But you can go there and you'll learn some more about the project and where we've gotten to. Something to consider with a project like this is that TransGrid is like a house, the house owner. Okay, so they own the house. They've had architects come in and design the house. And the SecureEnergy joint venture was interested in being the builder. And so we've submitted a tender and we've been awarded the contract to build the project. So when you see SecureEnergy logo out in the field and around the place, just remember that the SecureEnergy staff are the builder or the renovator of the house. So they'll be able to answer questions about the building process and the house, but they won't be able to answer questions on behalf of the architect or the owner, so how it was designed and what it's being done. So our objective when we're out and about is to make sure that we are a courteous neighbour and we ensure that we deliver this project for our clients safely, on schedule and to a high level of quality. So what does a project like this present as opportunities? SecureEnergy has had an active role in developing what is going to be a new industry, making sure that there is good contestability and making sure that we find suppliers who are able to supply for the project. We've already been active in the market looking for manufacturers of the large scale equipment. The size of the equipment and the electrotechnology market in Australia is not particularly big. And so we've spent over a year working with key stakeholders to see where both the project and the industry can develop to support the procurement of these large scale equipments. The project would like to acknowledge the Australian Steel Institute and New South Wales Treasury for their support in helping us to identify industry capability and competition in this space across the project area. We've undertaken site tours of local industrial facilities in Albury and Wagga Wagga already, and you'll see on a timeline later that there'll be opportunities for us to connect with other businesses in this space. We remain committed to share our knowledge and ideas for this new and exciting industry for Australia. Unbundling packages, so a lot of the packages that we have are quite large and quite complicated, but unpacking those packages is important so that we can maximise regional manufacturing and componentry, and that the works around the ongoing procurement construction can be brought down to as local a level as possible. So we are working closely with the procurement team, the construction and the substation teams on this unbundling. At the moment, you can see there some of the packages that are listed. So there's earth moving and fencing works, civil construction, camp services, haulage and cartage, logistics and inventory management, substation construction, assembly and mechanical installation. We also put up a new one yesterday, buses and charters. And when we hear from ICN, we'll be able to see how you can get on board with those packages. You need to understand that if you're going to compete for any of these packages, the nature of the work, more specifically, the high risk health, safety and environment nature of the work. It means that you need to have a high level of safety requirements and high levels of reliability for our supply chains. So this is just a bit of a look ahead. We've got a couple of slides here. You can see that we've already done some reviews across the marketplace. A bit of market testing was done by TransGrid in February of 2020, and SecureEnergy did some more market testing in December 2020. And we've also been working with ICN over this time to get suppliers registered and identify suppliers who may be interested in working with us on this project. Right now, we're doing the road shows, virtual road shows, unfortunately, but nonetheless, we're providing opportunities to communicate. As I've said, these will be recorded. So if you've got other businesses or other people that you know that may be interested in knowing about the project, please direct them to the website, and they'll also be able to get information from those partners that we listed earlier. A number of ICN Gateway packages have been released to date, and the supplier development strategy is being aligned and sorted out. So as we go forward to the rest of this year, there'll be more ICN Gateway packages released. We'll be working through supplier feedback and pre-qualification processes, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. You can see as we roll towards the end of the year that the larger packages for civils and construction will start to come up on ICN. So if you're interested in those, please keep an eye on them. And if we look ahead into next year, things will really start to pick up next year. There'll be opportunities for mechanical assembly and other activities that will take place through to the end of 2022, when there'll still be lots of working activity, but the main pre-qualification and procurement activities will be finished out by then. So I'd like to now hand over to Mr. Jeff Reardon from the Industry Capability Network.
Thanks, Adrian, and welcome along everyone this morning. Excited to be part of this project. I think it'll be great for our region. I'm based in Wagga Wagga, and at the end of this presentation, you'll see my contact detail. I welcome you reaching out to have a chat in relation to any assistance, setting up your profile or information that I'm able to provide. So we're going to run through a couple of things here today. Firstly, the ICN registration process, the process of submitting expressions of interest, and a new concept that we're calling the mid-tier supply panel. We'll be working closely with SecureEnergy to identify prospective or potential suppliers and their improvement path to be able to bring them onto the project. So if we can jump to the next slide. A little bit about us for a start. ICN was established in 1985 in New South Wales. We're funded by New South Wales Treasury. We're a not-for-profit. Our role is to connect project owners or people looking to purchase with suppliers, so yourselves in business, with the people with the capability to fulfil the needs of the project. Essentially, we're a matchmaking service for businesses. We go to the next slide. So how do we do it? we've been working closely with SecureEnergy joint venture for some time now. I've been working to assist them to identify capable local businesses, Indigenous businesses and local social enterprises. We do this through a couple of mechanisms, one being the ICN Gateway. Most of you will probably have experience with submitting expressions of interest, so you'll receive information from ICN Gateway. We'll do some supply chain mapping exercises where we'll seek to identify what businesses with what capabilities operate within what regions, and events such as this, the supplier briefing sessions, which we anticipate there'll be a number of these as this project rolls forward. So with suppliers, what we do for you guys is we try to keep you informed about the projects that are coming and try to help you to position yourself to exploit those supply opportunities when they become available. We do that through helping you create your company profile and working to improve that company profile to make you look as, I guess, as marketable and as attractive as you possibly can when it comes to presenting your capability information through to the project. We go to the next slide. Now, for those who aren't registered on ICN Gateway, this is a really important address, gateway.icn.org.au. This is a web portal for buyers and suppliers. It's an area where you can create your company resume or your company profile. It allows us from here to communicate or push information out through to you in relation to packages that are coming up. You can then submit your expression of interest. We'll help the project evaluate those responses and provide and aggregate all that information and provide it back to the project at the time the EOI period closes. Next slide, please. Now, working with SecureEnergy joint venture, there'll be a number of work packages that will be listed, and there are some listed today. Adrian mentioned the ones, and as you said, he put the charter coach package up last night. There are a number of others that will be coming on over the next coming period. We'll be working to promote those on ICN Gateway. Businesses wishing to consider working or undertaking complete work packages need to submit an EOI via the ICN Gateway. A brief pre-qualification questionnaire will need to be completed to determine the capability to perform works. It will be really critically important that your capability profiles are up to date and clearly articulate the capability of your business. Next slide. If you're not familiar with the ICN Gateway page, although we have rebuilt our website recently, you'll see in the submit your expression of interest where it says create EOI. Now, there's a new process that's going to happen, which I'll articulate more in a moment, but this is partial scope EOI. Some of those will be turned on in the very near future to allow businesses who may not have the capability to perform works across the full scope, but may be able to supply, for example, might be on the western part of the corridor, and maybe they can't work across on the eastern part of the corridor. If we can go to the next page. The mid-tier supplier panel, you saw me reference that on the first slide. It's a bit of a new concept. The mid-tier supplier panel will be a resource created for this and also for other upcoming projects. It'll give opportunity for local companies to access the project by working either directly for SecureEnergy or for one of the primary contractors engaged. It seeks to support and promote the skills and capability as a resource pool for companies needing to subcontract parts of the work to local contractors. Next page. Companies wishing to apply for the project mid-tier supply panel can do so by completing a partial scope against the relevant work package on ICN Gateway. Now, by nature of them, not all packages will have a partial scope attached to them. In addition to applying for the work package, the process will help to determine your company's readiness for the project, the geographic area of interest, and will allow the project to identify what assistance could be provided to you and your company to ensure your company is ready for the project and other projects that might arise in the region. Prospective suppliers will be required to address some of SecureEnergy's pre-qualification requirements. The pre-qual includes questions relating to financial well-being, safety, quality, industrial relations, and the answers will help determine what assistance may need to be made available. Once a business meets the pre-qualification criteria, it will be placed on the mid-tier supplier panel and it'll be accessible to the primary contractors when seeking subcontractors. Additionally, the company will have access to a central communications portal that'll be managed by us at the ICN for information available such as training, resources, RFT, RFQ, etc. We'll have information in there about the resources, so the contact and the appropriate people through organisations such as EnergyConnect, the BECs, etc., where you might go to seek some of that assistance. Next page, please. This is the important slide. If you didn't listen to anything else that I've said, here are my contact details. In the event that you need to reach out and you need my assistance, please feel free to do so. I'm here to help, and I look forward to making contact. Thanks, Adrian.
Super, Jeff. Thank you very much. We can talk about a bit more of those points that Jeff raised as we go through the remainder of the presentation. So what we're going to go through now is just how do you pre-qualify, what are the things that you need to consider, and just some more information in that space. So first of all, is pre-qualification right for you? You need to make a conscious choice about whether you want to work with SecureEnergy and a large project like this. You need to understand the costs of tendering for a major project and know what impact that might have on your business. You need to make sure that your business is easy to find. So make sure you're registered on the ICN Gateway. Make sure that you've got a website or a web presence so that when people are trying to find information about you, that they can find you. As you saw from the map, we are working over quite a long distance, and so there'll be things that people will need from time to time across the project. So make sure your business is easy to see. Be cost competitive. If you haven't tendered for a big project like this before, get some professional advice, talk to Jeff, understand what support is available to your business. Just because you have a postcode that's local to the project line doesn't mean that you have some price advantage. You need to still make sure that you are cost competitive. Make sure that you read the contract before you sign it. Make sure you understand the terms and conditions and what the contract obliges you to do. So if you need to, get professional advice to support you in that space. Understand our payment terms. Understand how you're going to get paid. Are they milestone payments? Are they time-based payments? And make sure that you have gotten some advice and understand how our payment terms may impact on your business. Talk to us. Ask us to clarify points that you have. Make sure you come back and ask us questions. If we give you information in a scope of work or we give you information in a tender evaluation that you don't understand, feel comfortable to ask questions. Make sure that you have a contract or a purchase order in your possession, in your hands before you do any work for the project. Okay, if you may have done some work for the project or you may have done some work for people on the project in the past. Just make sure that you have a SecureEnergy joint venture contract or purchase order before you do any work. Your business needs to be easy to administer. So we'll have expectations of your business. You'll need to respond to pieces of information in purchase orders or contracts. So make sure that you've got systems and processes that allow you to be easily administered and to be able to work with the project smoothly. And support Indigenous participation outcomes. As I stated earlier in the presentation, Indigenous participation is important for the project. We are actively working with businesses who have Indigenous participation as part of their normal business practice. So please make sure that that you've given consideration to all of those points if you consider working with SecureEnergy joint venture. What do you need to do to pre-qualify? So pre-qualification is a step in the purchasing process, and it's important to note that SecureEnergy will only be dealing with pre-qualified suppliers. So for parties to be included within a bidders list, you will be subject to a form of pre-qualification. That'll depend on whether, the form of pre-qualification will depend on the size of the job, the complexity of the job, and the length of the job. But there'll be some form of pre-qualification required to get on a bidders list. We need to make sure that parties that we're going to work with have sufficient capability, capacity, and financial strength to undertake the work. Suppliers must have capability that includes health, safety and environment, quality, and environmental management. So if your business doesn't have, or you're not sure of, please make sure that you review and check to see your HSE, quality and environmental management plans. As a project that comes under the Australian industry that has an Australian industry participation plan, we also expect our suppliers and subcontractors to adhere to the standards associated with the Commonwealth Indigenous Participation Plan and the Modern Slavery Act of 2018. It's worth noting that being pre-qualified does not guarantee you of work. So being pre-qualified means that you will get on a bidders list and that you will have an opportunity to then go into the tender process to potentially win work. So how do you pre-qualify? So what do you actually need to do? So make sure you are registered on the ICN Gateway. As Jeff said, there is a free option. Make sure if that's the option you want to take, please use the free option, but get registered on the ICN Gateway. That will give you the ability to see expressions of interest when they're posted, and also get emails from ICN about upcoming work. You need to keep an eye on those emails and the website of ICN and register for the relevant packages. There is a general package. So if you're not seeing a package that you think is relevant to your business, but you have services that you would like to provide to the project, there is a general registration there on the ICN Gateway. The local industry participation and Indigenous participation teams are active in the community. We're available to talk to people and provide information about the project, but we can't actually help you with your pre-qualification because of competition law constraints. We can provide general briefing and information, but we won't be able to specifically help you with your registration and pre-qualification. Once the ICN package closes, if you've expressed an interest and registered for that package, your details will be sent to SecureEnergy. SecureEnergy will then assess the applications, and then they'll issue out pre-qualification forms to suppliers. And that's the space where, as I said, we can give general information, but we won't be able to help you fill out the pre-qualification forms. That's about you and your business. Once you get that information, if you still want to proceed, then you will need to fill out and respond to the pre-qualification form and submit that back to the project. Once we get those back, suppliers will be communicated with, and they'll be categorized into groups, and we will talk to you about pre-qualification gaps. And this is where you may go off and work with ICN and go to the mid-tier supplier panel. We will talk to you about capability development, and again, point you in the direction of areas where you could get support. Or you may go straight through to Felix, which is the procurement system that the project's using, and do a pre-qualification for procurement. Please note, it's important that, again, that the pre-qualification form is a self-assessment. It's for you to go through, and I think in some cases helps you understand your business, but it also allows us to make sure that the businesses we're going to deal with have the capability and financial strength to be able to support the project. Unsolicited pre-qualification submissions will not be processed. So cold emails about somebody's business capability or marketing material that are sent through, they won't be responded to. So please, if you want to participate and work with us on the project, go and register on the ICN Gateway. Once you've registered and we've gone through the initial pre-qualifications, you may get invited to tender against a scope of work and go through the normal tender response process. There'll then be an evaluation of the tender responses, an award to the selected tenderer, and the execution of the scope. Okay, and for those suppliers who may end up on the mid-tier panel, then at the point of award to the selected tenderer is where we may make those large tenderers aware of businesses that are able to support them through the course of their project execution. It's important to note, if you haven't worked with a major project before, that the timing for each of these award processes may differ. Okay, it's a large project. You saw it's over a long distance, and there's lots of competing issues around timings and approvals and those sorts of things. So you may end up in a process that is quite quick and is completed in weeks, or there may be because of delays or interdependencies of other pieces of the project being completed, the evaluation and outcome of some of these packages may take months. So just be aware of that. On a large project like this, some of these processes can take some time. So, resources. Where can you find more information? So the SecureEnergy website, as we discussed earlier, went live last night. So if you haven't written it down yet, just jot that down, www.secureenergyjv.com.au. And on that page, you will find a link to the ICN Gateway, an ICN user guide. We've created a SecureEnergy supplier information guide, which has got some information in it. And shortly we'll have the pre-qualification short form and the pre-qualification long forms up. And that'll give you an idea of the type of information that you'll need to gather to be able to respond to the pre-qualifications when we talk to you further in that process. Sorry about that. So thank you very much for listening today, for your participation. As I said, these sessions will be recorded and they'll be shared with you or available on our website early next week. They will also be shared through the ICN network, through Regional Development Australia, Riverina, and Regional Development Australia Murray, as well as the Mildura Development Group, and also Business New South Wales will push this through to their chambers and members as well. So there'll be lots of avenues, and I'm hoping that you may receive several emails with links to be able to go and watch these videos again and understand what the opportunities are from the project. So I might just ask the moderator to let us know, have we got questions that haven't been answered at this stage? Carmen.
Hey, Adrian. Yeah, we've got a couple. A couple I have answered, but maybe worth talking about as well. So Matthew's asked us about the South Australian end of the actual EnergyConnect. So he's saying that ElectraNet is responsible for the section from the South Australian border into South Australia. SecureEnergy is not involved in it's my answer. Sorry, with the project covering both South Australia and New South Wales, what is ElectraNet's role in this project? So I've come back to Matthew, sorry, to say to him that the actual project is actually 900 kilometres long. It goes from Wagga into South Australia. SecureEnergy with TransGrid has been engaged to do the Wagga to the border, so that's 700 kilometres. From the border into South Australia, ElectraNet and TransGrid are doing that project, but they have a separate contractor for that. So we don't touch anything inside South Australia. We just go to Robertstown, just the border. So I hope that answers that part of the question. Another question, which I've answered, but I just want to check my answer has been correct. What about traditional ways of securing supply contracts? We usually win through tendering process. I am guessing ICN is more targeted towards mid-tier and smaller suppliers. I won't tell you what I answered, just to make sure it's correct.
So the project, so what we're trying to do through local industry participation is to, in these early stages, give information locally, supply information so that local industry understands the project and is able to be ready to respond to requests for tender when they come out. Once you go through the pre-qualification process with ICN, once we have established the capability and capacity of suppliers, it'll still then go into a traditional procurement process. So there will be a scope of work issued to tenderers. The tenderers will respond, that will be evaluated, and then there'll be a contract award. So yes, it will still be a traditional procurement process, but what we're trying to do through this process is make sure that as many local industries as possible are aware of what we're doing and are able to consider their ability to participate and be part of the project.
Okay, great. You taught me well. That's what I said. Another question was, do you anticipate that the tendered opportunities through ICN will include the provision of professional services as opposed to works, materials, equipment?
Ben, you've worked more closely with that. The answer is yes, but I'll let Ben give the detail there.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, the answer to that question is yes. Obviously, the vast amount of the procurement activity at the moment is more on the industrial scale, and then looking to plan around, implement early works, and then plan the broader strategy, the broader civil works that are coming towards the end of the year. But in terms of packages that are on the horizon, there's going to be potentially packages along the lines of training. There's going to be packages also associated of what can be delivered at a town level. So our ability to use ICN to create a basket of goods to say who are the local accountants, or who are the local chartered surveyors, or who are the local financiers who may be able to support the supply development strategy is another kind of service that we would be sort of keen to use through ICN. So the answer is yes. It's not traditionally used in that way, but that's the way that we've established the strategy. We hope the procurement team will take advantage of that, and we're having those conversations with them. But yeah, we hope to be able to gather services as well as goods, as well as manufactured items, etc. So yeah, thank you.
We've got another one. It's a long question, so I'll just chunk it up a little bit. So Prashant has asked, we are suppliers for transmission line towers and have local experience. Can we get a chance to participate in this requirement? If yes, then how? We have already registered our interest with ICN portal a long time ago. This opportunity has not yet appeared under work packages, but we understand that Elecnor has finalised the supplier based on their overseas experiences. In such circumstances, can we get a chance to participate in the project as a local vendor? So that's sort of the crux of the question.
Yep. So go, Ben.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work around the transmission towers, both with the client and the Australian Steel Institute. And yes, the towers will be, the raw materials will be coming from overseas. Frankly, at this present moment in time, the global steel price has it that our project needs to be very competitive in that global market, and obviously we've undertaken every single one of our Australian industry obligations to ensure that we've really understood the market and included those considerations in the decisions that have been made. Nonetheless, what has come out of those decisions, and I suppose this is sort of talking at a broader level, is there's a lot that can be learned for the Australian providers in this marketplace, and we're keen to share those lessons because there's going to be other work in Australia in this sector around the transmission towers themselves. So the team will now unbundle further with the construction team around what aspects of transmission towers we can get Australian and local supply into, as they will do with the substations as well. So that's an ongoing piece of work. And yeah, acknowledge we've done a lot of work doing the market research around that space.
I've had a few questions, actually, and a few emails overnight asking for Ben's email address. Ben is actually, well, he was actually our local industry participation manager before we got Adrian Whiting, but Ben comes off the project tomorrow, so there's no point in me giving you that email address. So please contact Adrian Whiting. I've actually got his email address in the Q&As for you to access, so he's the best person for you to contact if you want to ask a question about local content or procurement. Okay, I don't really have, oh, hang on, I've just got another question. Yes, bring them in thick and fast. We've still got lots of time. Okay, let me just have a quick look. Okay, so this is from Lucky. Is there any indication of when a material supply listing will be available for the copper requirements, i.e. earthing, terminal station upgrades, etc.?
So there's, at the moment, that is one of the areas where we're working with the teams to unbundle those requirements, to identify the components and work through with the tower designers and the substation designs and all of those other bits and pieces where we can group, so unbundle out of those packages and then have earthing and those sorts of pieces brought out into its own package. So watch the space, because yes, it is something that is being worked on.
I don't have any other questions. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question? Maybe I'll just give a bit of a summary of our construction methodology, might be, well, we've got some time up our sleeve. So I think, as Adrian pointed out, that we're starting in that western side of the alignment and working our way towards Wagga Wagga, and that is primarily because we're waiting on environmental impact statement approvals. So the western side is progressed far more than the eastern side. But once all those approvals are in place, we will have multiple work fronts across that 700-kilometre alignment. And with those work fronts, noting the distances that we will have to travel, we will have a number of camps. I think we're at about 6 or 7 camps at the moment. So that's the way we're sort of going to go through it. I mean, a time frame, the build is really not a long time. It's probably two and a half years. There's obviously a number of transmission lines and towers that are going in, quite a few of them, but there are also some substation extensions and builds that we'll be doing as well. There was a question yesterday about flying in and flying out into our work sites. Yes, we will have FIFO, but we'll also have drive in, drive out. But obviously, we also want to get as many local people working on the project as possible as well. Is there any other sort of questions? I'm not getting anything else through. Any other burning questions that you've got that you want to ask, have the opportunity to ask? I'll just reiterate again, we've had 3 of these presentations. We've recorded all of them. The presentations themselves are pretty much the same, but the Q&As are quite different. The very first one had a lot of people and a lot of Q&As, so we will put all those recordings on our SecureEnergy webpage, but the Regional Development Australia will have it on theirs as well. So will ICN have access to them, and the Mildura Development will also have access. So, and then if you can't find them, just contact Adrian, and then he can punch them out to you as well. They're probably worth seeing again, because you know sometimes you miss these things as you're looking on through a virtual session. But please have a look at them again, share them around. We want as many local businesses and Indigenous businesses to participate in the project as we can.
Thank you, Carmen.
Hang on, I've got another question coming in. Rough commencement date of tendering process. That's an easy one.
So there has been some parts of the work have been tendered for already. And you'll be able to go back through the presentation and you'll see on that rough procurement look ahead as of now where we think those packages and major pieces of work will come up. So we have already started on some pieces of work, you know, the steel, the bulk steel, for example, some of the substations, some of the undergrounding that was needed to be done of other lines. So there has been some tendering already, and it'll be an ongoing process over the next 18 months.
Maybe a last call for questions. I think that's it, Adrian.
All right, everyone. Thank you for your time this morning. To our presenters, thank you very much for your time. Our partners, it's really important, businesses, that you connect with our partners and get information from as many avenues as you can. Make sure you're well supported, and I look forward to talking with you and helping you out over the next 18 months or so as we ramp up into the project. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, everyone. Adrian Roberts, I'll answer your question shortly.